Hey, kia ora, Helen Brahms here for May 3rd's edition of Genealogy and History. We are looking at some of the events and people that had an impact on history on this day. And what we need to ask is, what questions you need to ask yourself is, out of the events that we talk about today, was anybody in your family tree involved in the event, or did they witness the event? You know, things like, for example, so say like something happens, like everybody, those that were around for 2001 all remember 9/11, where they were, what they were doing. Did you have people in your family tree like that for some of the events that we're going to be talking about today? That they can remember that event happening, they may have written about it in a journal, um, letters that they had written that you may have access to, that sort of thing. And then when we're talking about some of the famous people that we're talking about, some of the historical figures we talk about today, could they possibly be in your tree? These are some of the questions that can make a very interesting searches on your family tree. So without further ado, let's get on with May the 3rd. We are going to be going from 1374 to 2013. So we're going to be covering just a little bit in time. So May 3rd in 1374, what the heck is going on? I don't know. I've got something going on my computer here. Hang on. Let me get rid of that. All right. There we go. Something just popped up in the middle of the screen. So in 1374 BC, 1374 BC, solar eclipse, it lasted for 2 minutes and 7 seconds, was seen at Ugarit in Mesopotamian. Seen at, oh jeepers, I've got to learn how to say some of these names. Ugarit, Ugarit, by Mesopotamian astronomers on the day of the new moon in the month of Haya. The sun was put to shame and went down in the daytime with Mars in attendance. That's how it was recorded. I actually kind of like that. On the day of the new moon in the month of Haya, the sun was put to shame and went down in the daytime with Mars in attendance. It's actually quite an interesting way to describe an eclipse. And okay, so that was 1374 BC. In 1654, the bridge at Rowley, Massachusetts, begins charging tolls for animals. And I thought, well, this is kind of interesting. How do you charge an animal a toll unless it's accompanied by a person? But what if it is a deer just roaming along, walks across the bridge? How do they pay their tolls? So I've kind of found that one interesting. In 1662, a royal charter was granted to Connecticut. Remember, we talked the other day about royal charters, about how it was like the elite of being incorporated. It was like the best way that you could get incorporated in any way, shape, or form. And so Connecticut was granted a royal charter, which meant it could be its own company, its own business, its own responsibilities, all of that sort of stuff. In 1715, Edmund Haley, yeah, recognize the name Haley, observes total eclipse phenomenon Baily's beads. Edmund Haley's reputation mainly rests on his discovery of the orbit of Halley's Comet, named after him, but he is widely involved in a number of scientific endeavors and astronomy, things to do with astronomy too. There's written a whole passage about how he went and was charting the stars as he was sailing on a ship down towards the southern hemisphere and charting stars along the way, and how there were books written and everything else. And my computer is definitely going crazy today. It's popping up all sorts of things on me. In 1765, the first North American medical college opened in Philadelphia. 1765. Wow. 1802, Washington, D.C. is incorporated as a city. Oh, this is getting interesting. Who knew that? Hang on, I'm about to have a... There we go. In 1830, the first regular steam train passenger service starts. And they didn't say where it went from or to. So I found, sort of like, well, you tell me it starts, but where did it go from and to? In 1837, the University of Athens was founded. I thought they would have had a University of Athens long before that, so I was kind of surprised at how recent it was, given the history that's there in Greece. In 1841, New Zealand was proclaimed a colony independent of New South Wales. So at that time, New Zealand was part of the Australia. The New Zealand colony was part of New South Wales, which is a territory in Australia. And so in 1841, New Zealand was proclaimed a colony independent of New South Wales. In 1845, the first African American lawyer, Macon B. Allen, was admitted to the bar in Massachusetts. Now, he showed up a couple of weeks ago for opening a law practice along with another African American lawyer. There was two African American lawyers who opened up a law practice, and I'm trying to remember where they said, maybe, yeah, Boston. They were in Boston. In 1855, Antwerp to Rotterdam Railway opens. That's been running a long time. In 1867, the Hudson's Bay Company gives up all claims to Vancouver Island. Now, it was just 2 days ago that we were talking about how Hudson's Bay Company was given a royal charter. So it's kind of interesting how this all happens, and things keep coming up again. I love this. That's what I love, because you can follow companies' histories through these stories in time. In 1910, the Intercollegiate Athletic Association of the United States is renamed the National Collegiate Athletic Association, NCAA, and that was in 1910. In 1915, John McCrae writes the poem In Flanders Field, and Flanders Field was a field where he was a British World War I soldier, and Flanders Field was very prominent in World War I, and he wrote this beautiful poem about it. In fact, I think did I keep it up? Yes, I did. So in Flanders Field, here is the very short poem. In Flanders Field the poppies blow, between the crosses row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky the larks still bravely singing fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead, short days ago we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders Fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe, to you from falling hands we throw. The torch be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders Fields. And that was a poem that made him very famous, and he was a World War I soldier who wrote that poem. So that was in 1915. In 1921, yes, now we're going to go forward to 1921, and in 1921, West Virginia imposes the first state sales tax. So that was 1921. West Virginia started the role of state sales taxes. In 1923, the first non-stop North American transcontinental flight from New York to San Diego was completed. So when did it start? How long that flight took in 1923, because it was non-stop from New York to San Diego. That would have been a long flight. I mean, we do it in 5 hours now with jets. 1923, they would have been doing it with prop planes. So that would have been a very long flight, and it was non-stop. In 1933, Nellie T. Ross became the first female director of the U.S. Mint, and that was the day that she took office. So Ross, to me, I actually have Rosses in my family tree. So I'm curious to see, because I originate from the Ross come from the clan of the Ross clan in up near Inverness, and Ross and Cromorty is the name of the county. Inverness is the city that's close by, and that's where all the Ross clan come from. And so I'm curious to see. I'm going to be going back and having a look, because I know that some of my Ross family members some stayed in Scotland, some went to Canada, some went to America, some came down to New Zealand. So I'm curious to see if Nellie T. Ross is one of the people from one of the lines that came across to America in my family tree. So I'm going to be looking up more about Nellie T. Ross to find out if there is a personal connection in my tree. In 1937, Margaret Mitchell wins the Pulitzer Prize for Gone with the Wind. I have never read the book, and I have never seen the movie. People keep telling me it's a great movie and all of that. And that and Lawrence of Arabia are two that are on my watch list. And I think they're both movies I've got to be in the right frame of mind to watch. Because every time I sit down and go, I'll go watch Gone with the Wind, and I sit down there and I look at it and I'm so like, No, I really don't feel like watching it right now. So I will eventually watch them. Gone with the Wind and Lawrence Arabia, the two. So 1937, Margaret Mitchell got the Pulitzer Prize. In 1948, James Michener was awarded the Pulitzer Prize for Tales of the South Pacific, and Tennessee Williams got another Pulitzer Prize, this time for Streetcar Named Desire. It was only 2 days ago we were talking about him. What was the book? 2 days ago he got a Pulitzer Prize for one of his other books, but I can't remember what it was. I'm gonna have to remember these things. Oh my gosh, my brain's going. In 1948, the first broadcast of CBS Evening News, the longest running network news show in the US. So on this day in 1948, they had the first broadcast of the CBS Evening News. In 1949, the first firing of a US Viking rocket. It reached 80 kilometers. I don't know how. Put some straight up, across. I'm going to go research that one a little more. In 1951, the Royal Festival Hall opens in London. I was meant to go see what the festival hall was. Totally forgot to do that. In 1952, the first landing by an airplane at geographic North Pole. That would have been a cold flight. In 1954, a Pulitzer Prize was awarded to Charles A. Lindbergh for the biography The Spirit of St. Louis. And John Patrick got a Pulitzer Prize that same day for Tea House of the August Moon. But that sounds interesting. I have to get reading that one. In 1956, a new mountain range was discovered in Antarctica, and two of the mountains within that mountain range were both over 13,000 feet. It's kind of tall. But I couldn't find what the main mountain range was and the two mountains that were. I was looking for it, but they kept giving me all this other details and stuff. I was like, I don't want that. In 1960, that Anne Frank house opens in Amsterdam, the Netherlands, and this is the house that Anne Frank and her family were hidden in from the Nazis during World War II. And if you have not read her diary, it's an incredible, incredible book to read. It just is, just talking about her life, her outlook, her perspective on things. It was just amazing. This is from a kid that was, hidden in the attic of a house from the Nazis, and about her stories and her writings and things. It's an incredible book. In 1965, the first use of satellite TV for the Today Show on the Early Bird satellite. So, in 1971, National Public Radio, otherwise known as NPR, began programming. In 1973, and I pulled up the newspaper article for this one to find out what topped out mean. But in 1973, Chicago's Sear Tower, the world's tallest building at 443 meters, topped out. I was like, what is topping out? So I thought, let me go and have a look. So I pulled up the Chicago Tribune, dated 3rd of March, 1973. And it says here, today's the day Sears Tower becomes the tallest of the tall. With its topping out today, Chicago's Sear Tower will become the world's tallest building, towering above other famous skyscrapers around the world. Ironworkers will bolt the last steel girder into place atop the 110-story, 1,454-foot structure today. More than 1,500 men have worked on the building since construction began in 1970. 6 men have died during the construction. The building, which is scheduled for completion next year, so that will be 1974, will provide more than 4.4 million square feet of office space and will have cost more than $150 million. Who in your tree, if you're in the Chicago area and do you have anybody in your tree that was involved in construction? Do you have anybody in your tree who may have worked on the building of Sears Tower? In 1978, the first unsolicited bulk commercial email that we now call spam is sent by a digital equipment corporation marketing representatives to every ARPANET address on the US West Coast. So you thinking spam's bad now? It started in 1978. I was like, jeepers, 1978. That's the first unsolicited bulk commercial email. So if you think that spam email is new, it's been around a little while. In 1997, Garry Kasparov, he was a chess master, begins a chess match with the IBM supercomputer Deep Blue. He played 6 games over 8 days, in which he lost 2 games to 1 with 3 draws. So he only won 1 game and had 3 draws and lost 2 games. Interesting, against a computer. In 2003, New Hampshire's famous Old Man of the Mountain collapses. Now, what the heck is Old Man of the Mountain? So I had to go have a look because I have not been to New Hampshire yet. And it's the site of this. There was a profile of an old man that was caused by nature on this granite mountaintop, and they woke up on the morning of May 3rd, 2003, and it was a pile of rubble at the bottom of the mountain. And they just said it was just the weather that had worn it out and collapsed it. So, but apparently it's on coin, and there's a New Hampshire coin with it on. There was a lot of brochures and maps and things, because it was a big tourist attraction. And our last one for today, 2013, and I'm probably going to screw up this name, but we'll give it a go. Aorun Zio, Aorun, new word, Zhaoi, Aorun Zoi. It's a theropod dinosaur dating 160 million years ago, was discovered in China on this day in 2013. That's what they called it, the Aorun Zhaoi. Sorry for botching up names, but yeah, so a theropod dinosaur dating from 160 million years ago was discovered in China on this day in 2013. That's it for us for today for May 3rd, Genealogy and History. So I have something from here to go and research. I also know too that a couple of clients' family trees are based around the Chicago area. And I know that there was one of the members in that tree died from a construction accident. I just have to go, I don't remember the date of it, so I'm now going to go back and have a look to see if he was one of the ones that was involved in the building of Sears Tower. So not only am I going to be looking for my own tree for Nellie T. Ross, but I'm also going to be looking at clients' trees to see if any of these events here will tie in with what I already know about their trees, and especially since I know that some people were living in those areas at the time. So who in your family tree could have witnessed or participated in any of the events we talked about today, and any of the people that we mentioned in today's Genealogy and History, could they be in your family tree too? If you need help with searching out who is in your family tree, who is not in your family tree, finding those secrets, discovering the truth behind the rumors, then just go to helenconnects.com and you can set up a free consultation there, and we can help point you in the right direction or even do the research for you. Have a super fantastic sparkling day, and we'll see you back here tomorrow for another episode of Genealogy and History. Hei konera.